Hey, I know what I want to talk to you about tonight. It's a 7/2 chord. Mallet. Gong. The 7/2 chord is not the major 7/2 chord. It's the 7/2 chord. Just a 7. When I say there's only a 7, there's only a 7 written there. There's not MAJ next to it. It's only a 7. What is so special about this 7 chord? It is a whole step, not a half step, but a whole step down from whatever 8 you have. That 7 is a whole step down, not a half step like a major 7, but a whole step. Whole step, not a half step, whole step. A whole step. If you're on F, you got to go down to D sharp for a whole step. E to D, you got to go to whole step. These are a whole step down. In C sharp, you have to go down to D. B to get a whole step. That's a 7. Wherever that is, a whole step down from wherever the 8 is. 8, 7, 8, 7, 8, 7. Not 8 major 7, not major 7, not a half step away, but 8, one whole step down. Whole step. Okay, so now you have a whole step going down, and that's a 7. There is always in a chord, in a major chord, it's major streeted, so it uses houses from the major street, whatever it is. You could do this instead. You could play 7. One whole step down. Instead of playing the 8, you can play a 7, along with the 5 and the 3 of the major street. And you can add the 7 in there. But wait, the 7 is not part of a major street. So how can you play a 7 in a major street? Remember the whole thing here. Remember in this, in a major street, there was that half step from the major 7th house to the 8th house. But in a blues street, there was that whole step. The major and doing a whole step. Let me do this all again. So here, I was doing a blues. I used to do blues. 7. With a minor, remember the minor 7? No, this is a major street using a blues street 7. Wow! A major street is using a 7 from Bluestown. That is the ultimate great mixture that I'm always talking about in between all the other regular chords that I'm talking about, and that is the mixture between Major Town and Bluestown. Huge gong mixture. Gong. Okay, so now here in a completely major environment, I'm saying use a whole step down instead of the major 7 that we used to use of the major street. Great. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 major 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 major 7, 8. Instead of that, I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Doesn't even sound right. It kind of sounds cool. Well, wait, if it sounds cool, then it must be great. Right? If it sounds cool, it must be great. It is cool because it must be great. Hey, it was great. Hey. It doesn't sound bad. It was, if it was major, it would sound. I always had the major there. But in G, it makes everything all letters. C, it doesn't make it all letters in the major 7. It adds the 7 instead. So you have to remember that if you're playing in that C7, B7, C7, D7, E7, 7, 7. Now I even put the 3 in there. This 3 is in there. The 3 is in there. 7, I'm putting the 8 on top, I know. 7, 8. I always love octave in every hand, every time. And just putting notes in the between. I think you get a better sound. And then you practice that way. It's really a greater way anyways to go. Don't you think? If you're putting that octave always there and then you're putting something in between, that's a really great way. I think that's great. Don't you think that's great? I think that's great. Do you think that's great? Do I think that's great? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I am starting to talk to myself. Okay, so here. it's a whole step. So I'm singing all 5 fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 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 5 fingers. I'm playing a major street with a 7 instead of the major 7, and then playing the octave of the major street with a major third, of course, the major street, and the 5th, well, part of a chord, a 3rd and a 5th, or a minor 3rd and a 5th, but in this case, a major 3rd, because I'm talking about a major street, and then going putting the 7 in there from Bluestown, and making it sound cool. Doesn't it sound cool? I mean, this is instead of King Kong, Kong, King Kong, and then going here to the 7, and then to the 7, to the 7. And what about the 2? Do I actually have... Want to play?
Check this out.
Gong. The 2. What about the 2? I said no matter where you were, if you were in Major Town or in Blues Town, that 2 is great. In the rule, a huge rule is a 2 is good in Major Town or Blues Town. A rule. It's absolute gonged rule. It has to be, because it sounds so good. I said it was a thickener. It made things prettier in major. It thickened things maybe in 7. I'm going to put 2 in there. Listen to it. Here comes a 2 left-hand helper. Hey, that sounds pretty good. That sounds great, in fact. That sounds really excellent. That makes the 2-7 sound even so greater. It sounds so great. It sounds so great. Can you hear it from just... I'm going from the 7 to the... From the 7 to the 2. From the 7 to the 2, from the 2 in there, and it worked, right? Because the 2 is great. The 2 works anywhere. It is an adder even to that. And let's hear it even stronger. Once again, if I don't need to play the letter name of whatever I'm playing as the starter point in my right-hand thumb, and I'm going to move it right up to the 2, and then I'm going to continue because I'm in the major type situation, but I'm going to take this and go all the way down to the left hand with that, and I'm going to start with my 2nd and my 3rd, and then my 5th, and then my 7, just to hear what it sounds like. Just spreading it out a little bit. Covering the actual letter start instead of moving it right up to the 2. Just so you can really hear out what that 2 is doing. I'm I'm covering the part in my bass player anyways, so I can hear it. Isn't that cool? It makes you hear the 2 so nice. They're so nice. Now these 2s are so happy and fun and everything goes great sounding like that. Remember, you can invert octavely by creating an octave, whatever note. This happens to be like the 2 of this, whatever I'm doing, and I can octave it and then fill in between. In other words, I'm filling the letters except for the actual letter of the starting letter, which I'm covering in my left hand, which again, I'm going letter, instead of going letter. I started going letter, sharp, and going chromatically because I think it's easier to feel that. I think it's better to go letter, when your starting point is, and then it makes you think a little bit harder because you have to think differently than just feeling your way up to the next possible chromatic neighbor. You have to move actually to the next possible correct position if you're going letter, or sharp, whatever. In other words, what I'm talking about is my guide point now is going to be the left hand, and it's going to be my starting point. And my starting point for like here is going to start then to my 2, and then my 3, and then my 5, and then my 7. And I'm saying now, if it starts on my 2 in my right-hand guitar part, why don't I go to the octave it? And I hear what it sounds like. I'm actually octaving the 2. And I'm keeping the 7. I'm keeping the 7 part. So I'm almost doing the wrong one there. And then, hold on. Can you hear it? Can you hear it? I'm octaving the 2. The 7's in there, the 5's in there, the 3's in there. Isn't that pretty? And I'm leading off of whatever my left-hand bass is. Isn't that pretty? I think that's very pretty. Oh, I can invert this. So now instead of starting with the 2, I'm going to start with the 3, going to the 5, the 7, the 2, and then I'm going to add the 3 again on the top. And because I want to hear what that voicing, that magical word voicing sounds like. What does that voicing sound like? And then, well, the cool thing is that I think that's pretty cool. Don't you think that is? Yeah. Okay, so I have the 2 and the 7, and the 7 and the 2, whatever which way you want to go. I have the 7 now. That whole step down 7, taking from blues town over to major town and having a great time tonight. I think so.